Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the PIPCAST, your Pip-Boy supported podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by perfectly preserved pies. Pies that will last you a lifetime. My name is Tony Moe, and I'm joined by my co-host, Ketogenesis. This is the 12th episode of the PIPCAST, and man, I wish I had a perfectly preserved 200-year-old pie, preferably apple.
Oh, yeah.
I imagine that'd be quite tasty.
That'd be good. I wonder what kind it actually is.
That's
in
true.
Those vending machines.
You hope they do a bunch of different kinds.
Yeah.
Like some bumbleberry, apricot, cherry. Pies are good.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, there's not many fruits that taste bad once put into pie form, so I'd be all about that company.
It's very true.
I have a sneaking suspicion, though. You ever have, like, those pies that you get from, like, the Hostess place that are just, like, covered in, like, sugar that are in a box?
Oh, yeah, they have the...
That would probably last forever. I feel like they probably taste like that, maybe even worse.
They shimmer because of how much, like, actual
like,
sweetness they have. Yeah.
With...
Just
oh, God, dude.
Dipped them in something like a glazed donut.
Anyways, moving forward, I wanted to make mention, guys, the artwork that you're seeing this week is by a deviant art artist known as Dixie 2D. I will have a link down in the description to her DeviantArt page. Go check it out. She did some awesome Fallout 4 themed artwork this week with a female vault dweller as well as dog meat. Super cool, super cute. Love it. She does a lot of other anime type artwork. Definitely go check it out. She's got some really awesome stuff over there. I found myself enjoying quite a lot of her artwork, well beyond the Fallout stuff. And then moving right into the news, not much to talk about, as I imagine we're probably not going to see any actual news until we start hearing things about DLC coming for Fallout 4. But there was a pretty awesome little selection of photos that a Fallout 4 player posted over on Imgur of him taking his power armor and heading into the water right near, I forget the name of this freaking location, this stupid fort. I've gone to it so many times. But basically, he accidentally fell into the water while assaulting one of the radar camps and just decided, the game auto-saved, I'm just going to keep walking underwater. And this is the first time I've seen this. I actually went and then started doing a bunch of exploring today underwater, which was kind of difficult without the perks. But when you get deep enough, the hazy fog of the water just goes away as long as you just vaguely point the camera downward. So he managed to find like an underwater little like building with a light on it. There wasn't any door on it, sadly. Just really cool, you know. I think a lot of us are starting to sneak our way into the water. There definitely doesn't seem to be the same level of saturation as there is on the land when it comes to actual locations and items. I don't feel like anything underwater right now is more than just window dressing, but it's really good window dressing.
Yeah.
I don't know if you spent any time yourself there, Kato, but they actually, it feels like it was designed to actually be, the bottom of an ocean, not just what we saw in games for so many years, which is like, it's just flat for like 100 yards and then it just drops off into darkness. Like I found tugboats and like all this other stuff under there. So more and more people getting interested in exploring the underwater locations. And I know that's something I'm definitely looking forward to doing once I get my hands on those two perks. Because right now, the power armor I think lasts you like 2 minutes. I haven't actually timed it. And I kept having, every time I'd get someplace even slightly interesting, it was like, I had to keep fast traveling back. Every time it was like right there. I'm like, oh, there's something there. Oh, I'm out of breath. And I'd have to fast travel back.
Yeah.
So that was a bit frustrating.
Well, as Campbell was telling us last week, get the aqua boy, the aqua girl perk.
I'm like, I need to get one more point in the one stat, and then I can spend points to finally unlock that. I really want to get it because I feel like there could be some cool stuff down there. This guy found a pot. That was all he found, was a steel pot. That was the one lootable item he found. So, I can't imagine there's much down there, but I have like visions in my head of finding a doorway underwater that leads you to a different world, all, Bioshocky. I think that'd be wicked cool for the DLC, so we'll see what they do with that. But that's the news. It's a light news month. It's probably going to be a light news year for Fallout 4 moving forward.
I was trying to find the name of that Raider camp. It's the Waterworld looking one.
Hold on a second. He took a picture of the map, I think. I literally just did this because this is where you get the... damn it, he doesn't have it on his thing. So you get the terrible shotgun from. It's like right there.
Yeah, the Le Fusil Terrible. Or,
Yeah.
terrible
all right,
shotgun French.
I'm gonna find it. Yeah. There we go. Let's
French
see.
edition. Yeah.
It's like, dude, it's so irritating. It's got that life preserver for the sign. I'm like, the name is right on the tip of my tongue. It rhymes with Portlandia. Or it's similar to Portlandia.
Something like that.
Let's see. Here we go. I'm gonna find this. I'm determined now.
It's a pain in the butt. Well, I understand why the guy who
There we go.
took the images fell also, because it's just
Libertalia.
Yeah. It's a pain in the butt
that
to
is,
navigate those platforms with power armor on.
But there's like single planks of wood you have to run across while being shot at by raiders, possibly with missile launchers and Fat Man.
And if you're a melee player in power armor, trying to move on floating platforms to punch someone, it's like you'll randomly spaz jump up and down trying to punch someone. It's stupid.
So janky, man.
I tried so hard.
At least it turned out to be a pleasant surprise for him.
Yeah, I guess.
All right, so let's talk about our faction for this week. Once again, for those of you who are possibly still beyond discovering this faction, I will have an annotation that'll let you guys skip ahead past the discussion. But this week we are going to be talking about the railroad. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Like the Underground Railroad for synths and stuff. Which is cool because last week when we were talking with Camel, you mentioned the brief quest that we saw in Fallout 3, which gave us, the small connection with the synthetic man.
Mm-hmm.
And so this was, that's the first time we even hear of the railroad as they make a short appearance in Fallout 3, when one of their sort of railroad agents, Victoria Watts, pleads with you as the character to take pity on the android and to fake its or his death. And I do remember actually doing that. I remember very little about that quest, but I remember, faking the android's death for it and going back to the guy, and he was all angry with me. And I'm just like, whatever.
And there was numerous ways to start it too. Like it was kind of like after you got familiar with the game, it was kind of like hard to avoid after that. Because you had access to like all of the various junk vendors and doctors that had the holotapes, and then of course in Rivet City you had Dr. Zimmer just hanging out in Dr. Lee's lab, and he would be like, "Hey, you're a mercenary, aren't you?"
Yeah, that's
Can
what he
you
did.
find my synth for me?
Doing it. It's like, wait a second.
I lost him.
Conveniently lost my intelligent synth. So that was cool connection, like you said. It's just yeah, it's funny to see how, when they really establish an idea like the synths, how they're represented in Fallout 4, and then that small representation they had in Fallout 3, despite it being, within a very similar time period. Cool nonetheless. For me though, like the railroad was like one of the last things, like one of the last factions that I even went near. Like I took so long to get to them. Do you remember what the hour mark was for you when you first kind of went and did stuff with the railroad? I mean, I did it when it became necessary, basically. When they told me I had to go there to get information. That was when I went to the railroad.
I think the railroad is one of the... It was right after working with Paladin Dan's for the first time. And then I found that Central Commons area with the Freedom Trail, where the Freedom Trail started. And then I followed the Freedom Trail all the way to the church.
Yeah, because I had the Freedom Trail thing super early in the game, probably within the first 8 hours. I remember getting the side quests, but I was just ignore all miscellaneous side quests, and I'm going to go back to them later.
Yeah.
And then eventually I got to the point where the game was like, you have to go there. And I'm like, oh, okay. And that was when I met them.
Yeah.
And that was a convenient time, I think, to be introduced to them, because at that point I was so diehard, Minutemen. This is who I'm sticking with. They're awesome. And then of course the game just has to throw utter curveballs at you. Here's the railroad. They're really cool too. It's well, I'm going to line with the railroad. And then towards the end of the game even more, which I won't talk about now, is hey, here's these guys. It's damn you, Bethesda.
Yeah. Well, thankfully the Minutemen and the railroad are pretty cool with each other, so.
Yeah, that works out that they're all kind of on the same page, basically. But I really, I like the way, I don't know, it was the railroad reminded me of the Little Rascals for some reason. Their own little cool hideout, and they got the creepy, crazy tripping on acid tech guy who's like, wait, you talked to a synth, let me inject you with this battery acid. It's like, no, you can't inject me with battery acid. Like, they're just this really good cast of characters. And then you have the dude, I always forget his name, Deacon, of course, who you can take on as a companion. And I thought it was cool all the time that I spent roaming around with Nick Valentine, how they kind of had a connection as well, like they were familiar with each other.
Yeah. Even though, Deacon is just a pathological liar. You start to notice that later in the game.
Yeah. Oh, you should have seen it, man. He took down single-handedly 1,500 raiders. And it's like, it's lying for the sake of, he's lying with the aim to please.
Yeah, pretty
to
much.
just make people happier. So it's like, it's almost an all right type of pathological lying. Yeah. He's just a fun character. He reminds me like so much of other characters. I don't know if it's just because he kind of has just a very sort of classic, like gung-ho, gruff, like greaser type attitude about him. But I really like him like a lot. It's very hard. I think after I finally finish up the end quest for Nick, like to go back to Dogmeat or to go to Deacon, because
yeah,
really like both of them. It's a hard choice.
Yeah. But Desdemona and like it's just like it's kind of like just a motley crew. It's just because you got Desdemona, which is the the well-rounded leader type, and then you got Pam, the I guess fate-determining robot almost.
Oh my god, dude, she's hilarious.
And then and then you got Tinker Tom, who's pretty paranoid about everything.
Yeah.
And
he's like he reminds me of Jimi Hendrix.
Yeah.
Like the Jimi Hendrix of the tech world.
And then Glory, the hard ass. She's very good at her job. Takes it very seriously.
Yeah, she's like a bit of a psychopath. Like if there's a reason to be against like, synths trying to blend into human society and just be normal people, she's like one of them in my opinion, 'cause she is crazy. Mm-hmm. Like it's just kind of like, thank goodness that you're on our side, because I could see you tearing me from limb to limb with like a straight razor in the back alley or something. Yeah. Otherwise she's
or her minigun.
She's a bit crazy. She's a bit crazy. That was like with the Railroad, again, I think every time we talk about the factions, it's like all the characters are so well established, like you wish they could all be your companions.
Yeah.
Like it'd be so cool, I think, to have Pam as a companion. Yeah. Number one, because those droids, those robots,
the Assaultrons, oh my goodness. If they get
like friggin' I-beams of death.
Yeah, if they get that face laser going, whatever's in the way is toast.
Yeah. It's just like they're such a weird character because they feel like they are very opportunistic, because it's like they can be really like just easy to kill because they'll like run at you. Their melee attack's kind of weak, it has to get really close and you just keep killing them. But it's like once that laser charges up, like you better be hiding behind something.
Oh yeah,
I think I was stuck behind like an old like semi tanker on the one island when I was pushing towards one thing.
Bad idea.
And I'm like just standing behind it. I'm like shooting through the bottom of it, like, oh, she's so close to death. And I just hear like the I-beam. Next thing I know, there's like the big flashing like explosion icon. The whole truck like blows up. I'm like 1 bar from health. I'm like, oh my god, this thing's crazy. It's just one of them. Like, oh, brutal. That'd be a super cool companion.
So how about that? How about the advantages to helping out the Railroad? Because I think they have like the widest array of Radiant quests. I don't know how many of them you've done.
Yeah, I've barely scratched it, to be honest. It's like that was the problem too with getting into the Railroad so late. Like I'm already trying to finish up the main story now, and it's like I'm pretty much gonna end up probably not being able to do them at some point, which kind of sucks. But
because you have of course Tinker Tom wants you to set his Mila units on very high points. And then Pam wants you to take out specific targets or find caches, which is very important if you want to get a ballistic weave, which is awesome. For any who don't know, the ballistic weave is basically ways to reinforce your clothing, the clothing that goes underneath your armor pieces. and you can get it.
Yeah, I need that.
You can max it out at 100, which is ridiculous.
Oh my god.
100 damage resistance, and I think you can put it at 100 energy resistance too, which is insane.
Really?
Yeah.
So it's like I saw that. I was looking in the for the quests, I was looking at the Radiant quest for them to decide if I wanted to spend the time to clean some of them up before I finished up the main story. And that was one of the big things, but I didn't really look at that actual item. I didn't realize you could push it that high. I'll probably have to do that now.
Yeah. So once you do one of the quests for Pam, one of the Radiant ones, to find a secret cache behind a vault door, she's like, yeah, Tom has been working on this ballistic weave stuff, and then it becomes available to you to make ballistic weaves on your own stuff too if you have armor. Otherwise, you can just get what Tom has and take it off of he fortifies a bathrobe.
What?
Yeah.
A bathrobe.
Yeah.
Oh
and then you can take
like
the mod off like you would with anything else. So.
Oh, that's cool. 80-pound bathrobe laced with carbon fiber and leftover bits of steel and leather. Sounds legit.
Well, as far as I know, it's just ballistic weave or ballistic material kind of stuff.
That's cool.
From military ammo
I think that's
banks.
That's one of the problems that I've had is you want to build you're playing your character a specific way and you're using a certain type of armor, but the factions totally can alter the way you would go, the benefits.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously we're saying with the railroad, they're very light armor, sneaky stuff, buffing a character that wouldn't wear combat armor or heavy armor. And then you go to the Brotherhood and they're like, oh, let's give you all this crazy combat armor benefits. So it's it was rough when I got to the railroad because my character's pretty much just nonstop combat armor, but then I'm seeing all the benefits I could get from their stuff, especially as I start to push my character to stealth and suppressor bonuses.
Yeah.
I'm oh.
And then well, when you work for a faction too, people should know this as well, or have already. If you start working with a faction and get yourself established with them and help them out enough, they will have taken over several checkpoints around the map, and you get random miscellaneous objectives if you're in the area and they're getting attacked. They're help out the checkpoint kind of thing, and you can go over there, and if it's the railroad, they're running around with frickin' Gauss rifles wrecking everything.
Oh, that'd be an easy way to get a Gauss rifle then.
Right.
There you go. I didn't know that. I haven't, like I said, I haven't got to spend enough time with them, and that's what kind of sucked. Is I got to the point now we're in the story, and it's I want to finish it and just go through it, but it's
yeah.
I wish I would have just done their stuff earlier on. And I know it's I shouldn't feel rushed to finish the main story, but there's always that sigh of relief to get it out of the way and then be able to go back. But knowing that the main story is going to affect my relationship with some of these characters. Is okay.
Yeah, that part was the dilemma for me too. I went with the railroad by the end, but I'm playing through again, going with the Brotherhood this time with my character, with my newish female charisma luck.
I was gonna say this is your luck character, right? That's just utterly comical. The idea of roaming around with the pack of Brotherhood, decked out in power armor. Are you gonna do heavy weapons, or are you gonna
I've been since I haven't taken on any weapon specialized skills. I've only taken on Bloody Mess, which increases overall damage, of course.
Yeah.
I've been really tempted because I'm just getting. Because I switched it over to survival mode for this character too, and I've just been getting destroyed by certain enemies, just because there's nothing but charisma and luck there. So if it's not a quest based type thing where I'm interacting with someone, I will probably get this destroyed the first couple times.
Like a walking tissue box.
But surprisingly, the encounter with Kellogg was pretty easy.
See, that one, it's funny because I know we'll talk about survival mode later on, but it's for me, at the point in the game that I'm at now, it's like survival mode has become like an irrelevant difficulty. Like there's no challenge anymore in the game for me, and I got really frustrated by that. Like most of my weapons are all like pretty decked out, and just recently, like today, I took out a Mirelurk Queen with a skull with just 2 fat mans. Like because I spent more points in heavy weaponry. It's like once you hit the 40% tier for heavy weapons, they just start to do crazy damage. And it was like so. And yeah, I've been running into skulls like left and right, exploring the right side of the map now, and everything is pretty much just dying. Like the only stuff that is still an extreme challenge. I mean, it still sucks when you get hit, right? You like die, but you know the fact is,
yeah,
I'm
pretty much.
I'm using firearms, so it's like I kill everything anyways. You know, it's like the Mirelurks are really the only big challenge.
Yeah.
But
what I've been running around with the most was I finally was able to switch over my sniper rifle. I got a mighty sniper rifle, which is a 25% damage boost, which is really nice. It kind of counterbalances my lack of any weapon skills. And I ended up with a combat rifle, I think for my secondary like mid range.
yeah,
And then of course I'm using Kellogg's pistol now, because it naturally comes with an extra. What's the effect? Every time you score a critical hit, it recharges your AP, and I can rack up to 3 critical hits and use them all at once if I want to. So
yeah, that works out perfectly.
yeah,
yeah, that was a pretty crazy. I was irritated when I found out I was just about to go to Kellogg because I was talking to my brother and I was like, I want the 44. I'm gonna get the snub nose and like build it up, and he's like, you probably shouldn't waste your time or money. I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, you're just gonna get one from the one guy. I'm like, damn it, I just spent all these caps on this thing. It was,
it's a nice thing.
Yeah, it worked out. That's like that's my backup. It doesn't do a ton of, like, it's good for raiders and ghouls, but yeah. Anyways, let's unspoilerify enough talk about the railroad and so on and so forth, and welcome back, all of you guys. I feel like most of you probably have gotten to the point now where you're not clicking the spoiler button. I think we're only going to keep around for one more episode. After that, it is just going to be approach with caution. But let's talk about my personal topic.
One more time.
Maybe one. Well, we don't have any more factions to talk about.
Well, the Institute, but
I can't even talk about them yet because I haven't finished the game, so we'll have to postpone it until we do that, and then maybe we'll throw them in with a big story spoiler discussion. We'll just make the whole episode spoiler alert. I think everybody's probably getting to that point. I know
then we could talk about just how we experienced it overall and feel about it.
Yeah, I feel like it'd be a good time for maybe in a couple of weeks from now. But what I want to talk about, because I feel like, they're good voice actors. I like both of them. I'm sure they really liked putting themselves inside of the world of Fallout. But I can't help but feel like I actually don't like the idea of my character being voiced. I like the whole direction that they took, to me, is one of the things that does disappoint me about the game. Like, number one, like the fact that the whole like story and conversation is just all so like going in one direction. Like, I understand you can choose who you align with, but like
the linear conversations where you don't have much option.
Yeah,
even though it appears that way.
Yeah, and the way they handle the dialogue to me is just an absolute mess. Like, your character never says what's in the dialogue, which is why if I was playing on PC, I would have put that mod that guy made on, like, right away. Because I hated and then at the end of the day, none of that matters anyways. Like, can't really talk about the story, but it's just there's too many times where you come to a situation and you want to try and approach it in your own manner, like you would have done in Fallout 3 and in New Vegas, and it's just not there. It's like your character's going to present himself in one type of a mood in most of the situations, especially with the story. And I like the amount of times that you actually hear the characters talk, the voice characters, was so small to me. It was like, it just felt completely unnecessary. It felt like, an attempt to push the game in like a more forced cinematic direction, and it didn't do anything for me personally. Maybe some people dug that. I didn't hate it to the point where I'm like, this ruined the experience for me. But I do feel that it didn't provide the same sort of oomph that I was expecting. I always kind of liked the silent protagonist in Fallout, and I know we talked about this way back before Fallout 4 came out. Like, I like the idea of just, this is my character. I present myself through how I engage with other, NPCs in the world, whether it be through use of force or the decisions that I make. And I don't ever have to hear myself talk, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Like, it just worked for me. It just didn't feel necessary for me at the end of the day. Like I said, I think they did a good job. But I think, it was something that didn't go all the way.
Yeah. I mean, it is unmarked territory for Bethesda to do something like this. And for a first, like, I think they did okay. Like, for establishing a voiced protagonist so they can do it better in the future. Because, like, what's the point of innovating if they don't try?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I just hope that they don't do it in the future, to be honest.
Or leave it as an option.
Like, it just doesn't fit their games. Like, the games they make are sandbox games. Like, Fallout 4 is so damn good because of everything outside of all the story nonsense.
Mm-hmm.
Like, honestly, as soon as I started trying to play the story the last couple days to finish it up, I got bored. Like, I don't enjoy the forced, like, story objectives, go here, do that. Like, the free form exploration aspect, the idea that anything could happen at any time.
Yeah.
Is what makes the game so special to me. Once I go somewhere and I know I'm gonna fight like this faction or that faction, and then I'm just kind of like, then I feel like I'm, it goes back to starting to feel like a really just, story-driven shooter for me, especially as someone who's playing, just a stealth-based like shooter combat character. Mm-hmm. I'm just like, yep, kill these guys, go to the next room, kill those guys. Like, there's more variety when I go to a location for a side quest even, and I'm just like, exploring, opening all the drawers, unlocking the doors, and using computers to figure things out. Like, that's way more enjoyable for me. So it's like, I think they need to respect what they're good at, and rather than trying to go in a different direction, like, don't worry about everybody saying, okay, you guys aren't innovating. Like, just work with what you're really good at and continue to master that, and then let it evolve more naturally.
Well, I mean, think about the things too that add quite a bit of entertainment value too, because what I've been doing with my character, I mean, you did the slight spoilers, Silver Shroud quest. That is funny. Speaking as a Silver Shroud, that's funny.
It was like the few times, where I think it went over well, and it was like, it's like, could they, that's like one really good example. It's, and it is a very good example, in defense of voice characters, but it's like, so could they have done that without it? I'm sure they could have found a way. I don't know.
But with the character I've been describing in my second playthrough, because you have the sarcastic answer for most things on the left. That's what I've been answering with nearly all the time, and there is some ridiculously funny things that your character says.
Yeah, it feels like
and it wouldn't have, at least for me, like, it wouldn't have the same effect, especially since my second is a female character. It wouldn't have the same effect for me if I was like just speaking it myself.
See, I think like what they did though, it's like if you think back to, you look at Skyrim, New Vegas, Fallout 3. Like, you still had those moments of comedy, but it was in the reactions of the NPCs. Mm-hmm. And, that was a big thing when they did Skyrim. They were like, oh, we've got like 50,000 lines of dialogue recorded for all of our NPCs this time around. Like, almost all the NPCs are going to say things to you. And I actually enjoyed that more. Like, I like the Silver Shroud. I like, what's going on there. But the ability to, like, pick a piece of dialogue and then just wait for that reaction from the character, the NPC, like, what'd you say? Like, are you crazy? Who do you think you're talking to? Like, that was more comedic to me in a way.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But, I do see there is that obvious potential with stuff like the Silver Shroud. It's just, I think they have to pick a direction. Like, what are you trying to make? You're trying to make an open world, linear focused RPG, something like Dragon Age? Are you trying to make a more sandbox experience? Because I think those are the two things that separate two open world games. Like, obviously they're different genres and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
But that's really the big thing when you look at like Inquisition. Very, straightforward, story driven, not very sandboxy. And that to me is why that open world sucks so much compared to Fallout.
Yeah.
Which is very sandboxy, and the open world is like so fantastic because of that. Like, can you ever make the two mesh? Maybe, someone can pull that off and make it work really, really damn well. I think that's what a lot of us are hoping for when we talked about Mass Effect Andromeda a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, yeah.
Like bringing those two things together, having all of that player choice. And I think, maybe if there was just more choice in the discussions, I would have felt better about the voice characters. Like if I didn't go into a situation in the story knowing that he was going to act this way and I could have changed him, I could have made him, be passive or, be more rational, then maybe I would have felt better about the voice characters. But
I don't know.
Let us know what you guys think.
Yeah.
The millions of opinions out there.
Third character I make is going to take all the aggressive, dialogue choices.
Dialogue choices.
Gonna be the bullheaded jerkbag.
I got a baseball bat and I know how to use it. You better give me those mentats. So let us know how you guys feel about the voice characters. Do you love them, hate them, enjoy them? What do you think about them and how, the idea of a voiced, main character inside of Bethesda games in general. Let us know your feelings on it. But I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to you, Kato. Let's hit up your personal topic for the week.
Oh, boy. That was your personal topic. Okay, so companions and our broad and colorful variety of companions. So we have, we talked about Nick for a little bit. We got Deacon. So Nick is the gumshoe detective type character who's pretty good tied into the story for the early parts. And then you got Piper, who's I think the third in the story that you that you get to know. Before that is Codsworth and Dog Meat. And then you have Kate, she Irish?
Yeah, she's got a bit of a maybe Scottish or Irish
pit fighter, who's a beast with a shotgun. You got Strong, the super mutant. You got Curie, who's the vault robot. I don't want to spoil anything about her.
Yeah, I didn't even ran into her yet.
Let's see. I know I'm missing at least one. I have to.
Codsworth.
I said Codsworth.
Did you say Codsworth?
Hancock. You can get Hancock. The mayor of Good Neighbor.
Oh, really? You can?
Yeah.
He's kind of like, I don't know. He's an interesting character. I guess we shouldn't talk about him too much, but he's an interesting character.
I will say that you need like a completely unrelated quest to get him as a party member, though.
See, that's interesting because I was assuming that for the Silver Shroud, what we were talking about, I was assuming you were going to have the opportunity to possibly assassinate him at one point.
And then
maybe you do because I haven't finished it.
And then you've got McCready, who is the McCready from Little Lamplight, which is awesome.
Damn, dude, there's just so many.
It's all grown
absurd. It's like they just nailed companions, man. Because I said, when we talked about companions in the past, like Fallout 3, New Vegas, I did not give two caps about companions. Did not care. Like, don't care. Nope. Just gonna do my own thing.
Yeah, Fallout New Vegas did a little bit better. Like they had backstories, they had motives and goals, but yeah, in Fallout 3, like you hired them and that's it.
Yeah, I mean now with 4, it's like they're talking to you. They're they're sharing bits of information with you all the time, like we were talking about in the past, and they're just so alive, dude. I think that's why like people love Nick Valentine so much.
Yeah.
Like he is the most, probably out of all the characters, like his personality is just so there. Not to mention, like he's just that, like you said, he's that caring gumshoe detective guy. Yeah. Like just I love old detective style stuff like Dick Tracy and all that stuff. It's just love that, and he just embodies that like so much, man. He's such a fun character.
Yeah. And then Strong, he's on his mission to find the milk of human kindness, or something like that.
I don't know if I'll ever help him if he keeps standing on the roofs of my settlements, shouting at everyone.
He's too big to fit in the building, so he hangs out on top of them. That's
Strong wants milk. Oh my God, that's all he ever talks about. Like, you would be such an annoying character. And then if you walk near them, it's like, what gets really irritating, the NPCs sometimes, is if you accidentally look at them as you're going to like a workbench, they'll stand by the workbench.
Yep.
So like the one day when we were getting ready for the scavenger squad, I'm like sitting there writing down, like making notes on my computer while looking at all the weapon, parts and mods, and freaking Strong is just standing there. Human lie. When human going to take Strong to find milk? I'm like, dude, go away. I literally had to pop out, go into the building thing, and then tell him to go like, stand over there. Because he's just standing right over the modding bench just talking to me. It was like this loop. I'm like, okay, that's it. I can't, you gotta go away.
Okay. Yeah. So beyond the like cool interactions and how lifelike the companions now are, there are still the glaring issues of, companions getting in the way, especially if you're a sharpshooter or you aim at any point in time at any enemy and this companion is in your party, because you might hit them or they might just try to get in front of you all the time, or what feels like all the time.
Yeah.
And they also have a nice habit of shoving you around sometimes, like if you're trying to like line up a shot or sneak, which is a little obnoxious. I wish there was a distance option, kind of like there was in New Vegas. I think there was in 3 also. Like tell them how far they could be from you, so they would be well out of the way and not in a doorway somewhere. Yeah,
it's a bad system.
But there is still like they took the hint from Skyrim too. Like if you walk up to them and look them right in the eye, like they will back up. That's been programmed in there. So like if they
it gets rough in combat, like when they're just really focused on something and then they or they go down in a doorway.
Oh yeah.
And you can't stim pack them because there's a million things going on and you're just like, oh my god, that's one of those things where it's all about, like, you can tell it's an issue that has to do with the way that characters still interact with the world. Like it's, Fallout 4 is not floaty. We don't have that same problem we had in Fallout 3. But you can tell there's still like a disconnect in the way the characters have been coded to interact with the world. Mm-hmm. And it's like, I'd like to see them get to that point in the future with their games, hopefully whenever they do an engine revamp or whatever, where, you have characters that take cover on objects and like stand behind doorways, not in the doorway. Yeah. Like the characters need to be brought to life in combat a little bit more, as the series moves forward. Yeah. And if they plan on doing more Fallout, I hope that's the direction they can take, because you think about like Mass Effect, for example, a game where you have sometimes several people with you, never an issue.
They were never,
because they're always
almost
they're
never in my way. They were
cover. They were taking engaging a target.
They would be taking a cover spot that you weren't, basically. Yeah, and then if you of course jumped over to where they were, they would usually move.
Yeah, the game needs that sort of, like, it just needs a system like that. I don't care if it's player driven or if it's AI driven, but like some way to tell them like, go here. And plus, I mean, you think about, the future potential of being able to like give more serious command to your companions, like being able to say, set up on this side of the building and, lockpick it. I'm going to go in through the front door.
Yeah.
Like that starts to really go back to the old combat nature of the Fallout games, bring it into the modern era. Taking the turn-based sort of tactical approach, and like that was a big thing, in Fallout 1 and 2 and in tactics. Yeah. Like bringing that back, I feel like that's the direction they're obviously going. Fallout's still a very combat-oriented game. Why not have that component in a first-person, non-turn-based? I think that'd be freaking fantastic.
The stand and wait thing, I got a little irritated at it too, because I had Kiri go and sit in a corner in the same room where I was taking out this raider boss, and she just stood there like an idiot while I got 15 laser beams into my face. Didn't do a thing. Didn't do a thing about it.
I was doing the one
just hanging out in the corner.
I actually it was Nick and then a story character when I was doing one of the missions, and we were in an elevator basically that was exposed and we were being shot at, and it worked out well enough that they both just stood in front of me, and I was like, this is great because I probably couldn't kill any of these, and there's about 1,000 people shooting at us. And they both just kept taking shots. They'd go down, I'd stim pack them, they'd provide human meat shield cover for me. It was like the first time it ever worked in my favor that they were just in the freaking way.
Yeah. It's really, really great. But there are some really entertaining things that happen because of that disconnect that you were talking about of you know, characters interacting with the world. Like there's been like some raiders that I've encountered that like on rooftops and stuff like that, like they just get a little too close to the edge and they just fall right off. Like when they're trying to be sharpshooters or something like that. That's really entertaining to me.
Yeah, they can do some goofy things.
Or shooting rockets at me at point blank.
Oh, dude, there was like an invisible wall glitch. Like something had happened because I'm trying to shoot these super mutants. Like when I was actually following the Freedom Trail. So I'm just in, you know, Boston City. I'm trying to snipe them out. I'm like, what the hell? What am I hitting? Like I can't do anything about it. And all of a sudden I look, I'm like, oh great, he's got a missile launcher. The super mutant shoots it. It hits the invisible wall and just obliterates him. I laughed so freaking hard. Just killed himself. And his friend next to him, I look and then there was a guy next to him. He had like half health after that. I was like, saved me the trouble, thanks.
Yeah, it's really, really pretty great stuff. And also, like, I'm glad to see that they have as much trouble sometimes throwing Molotovs as I do.
Oh my god, dude, hitting doorways, dude, that's companions where they get in the way.
Yeah.
Try and throw a Molotov over one of your companions. Doesn't even matter if it's dog meat. Next thing you know, you're on fire. And it's terrible.
Well, if it's strong too, he's the size of a doorway, so you know.
See, that's when it's like the only thing he should be doing, like, you know, as a character is just running in and grabbing people and shaking them to death while you shoot them.
Or just ripping off their legs so you can just, you know, take care of them.
Go tear off their limbs from me all around. It'll be interesting to see, you know, where the individual... That's like one of the things about Bethesda games as a whole, right? You know, you wait like 4 years for one. It does so many great things, but then you're just like thinking about all the other things you want it to do moving into the future.
Yeah.
Because there's still like so much room always, you know, to improve mechanics wise, because they're always trying to make the world bigger and more, you know, more stuff to explore. So I think they're always fighting like that idea of like, yeah, we want to do all these small features everybody's like so stoked about, but we want to make a big, you know, world that's really great to explore. So it's like, I'm okay with that though. You know, I'll wait for an AI cover system, one more game, if it means the world can be as awesome to, you know, to spend time in as Fallout 4's world was.
Yeah. Well, they've always been on the right track too. Like, it doesn't, a lot of the things that we you know, gripe about and complain about, like, you know, we do that about just about anything that we like.
Yeah, I mean, and most of the, you know, the features we're talking about, like we're saying, like Mass Effect, you know, having a very nice tactical combat system, right? Well, that's great. That Mass Effect is a much more linear game than, you know, what Bethesda's doing. There's a whole new set of challenges. So it's like, you know, to ask them to put that system in their game, obviously it's a bigger challenge for them, you know, so it's like,
and like,
definitely.
I know there'll be some, you know, people that disagree too, but between like Mass Effect 1 and Mass Effect 3, when it comes to combat, like Mass Effect 3 was superior. Amazing.
They
matched right up with its storytelling, with how amazing the combat was, where you wanted to be in combat, and when you were in combat, you wanted to be in a conversation with some alien.
Yeah.
So
that game saw like a lot of changes before launch. You know, it was like the first Mass Effect had a pause time turn-based combat system, much like Inquisition ended up getting. As well as Dragon Age 2 on PC, where you like pause the game, you'd individually set markers, and then they were just like, no, let's just make the AI good.
Yeah. Works.
Which, yeah, it wasn't fantastic in the first game, but, you know, the second two definitely stepped it up. That's a lot of fun to, you know, and issue like all of their special abilities on a wheel. Like the fact that was able to work out and not be overwhelming just always blew my mind. I loved being behind cover. Oh, yeah, just makes me think about what they could do with Fallout 4. Love the idea of that.
Yeah.
Strong, go tear his legs off. Okay. That's a special move. Every once in a while he's got to recharge. He can rip people's limbs off. Oh, that'd be so good.
Well, the dog meat is excellent, you know, crowd control.
Yeah. That's why it's like hard for me not to just take him all the time.
Yeah.
Especially considering, you know, I'll go from sniping and then I'll move into like a lot of close quarters stuff. And every time I've had him, dude, he's just like, yeah. Like always knows like when to take down that ghoul that's about to rush me. Like he just seems to be in the right place at the right time.
And also, He has specific animations for like a lot of like enemy takedowns and stuff like that. Like I found some what was it, wild hounds? No, not wild hounds.
Like the mongrels.
The mongrels, yeah. And like he just attacked him and just went straight for the jugular, ripped it out, and I was just like, oh my goodness, dog meat, you're a BA.
Right? I like the what is it with the I had the ghoul, I had it, he tore off the one ghoul's leg and like threw it up in the air, and the ghoul's got like one leg and just crawling around. Like, it's another thing you bring up that's funny when we talk about combat with them, which I found frustrating, is they tried to like do the same sort of system we see in like Wasteland and old Fallout games where you give them their supplies. But I find that so absolutely irritating that I have to keep giving, Nick 10mm ammo. Otherwise he reverts to using a pipe pistol.
Yeah.
Like that, like it's just, the system's just not established enough for it to make, to make sense to me.
I usually just
rather
set up companions with guns that I don't use that often, so then I can just
That's what I do. It's like, but
or something.
yeah, it's just, I don't know. Like I caught him just today when I was like playing. I'm like, is he meleeing? Like, what are you doing? How are you out of ammo? I just gave you like 300 rounds for the 10, and he actually had ammo, but he seriously was like running up to people trying to pistol whip them. I'm like, just shoot them. You've got an exploding 10mm pistol. I gave it to you for a reason.
Yeah. I gave Kate my my explosive shotgun on my main character, and it was amazing.
Yeah, I feel like a shotgun in general would be a good idea, because shotguns just annihilate up close, and that's what they seem to do regardless of, their characters. They just run up to the enemy, which works, That's why I like Dogmeat, because he seems like he can tank a lot of health because he's so agile up close. Like, he doesn't get attacked a lot. So it was like, he's one of the few characters where you can be like, hey, go in first, get in a fight with this Yao Guai, and by the time you go down, I already killed the Yao Guai.
Yeah.
It's like most of the other characters, it's like, send him in, you eat away like maybe a quarter of its health bar, and then the character dies, and then you're getting chased by 6 Mirelurks.
Yep.
And he's back there with like, I need a stim pack.
Oh man. Mirelurks. They still terrify me, man. They did an excellent job with the Mirelurks and the Rad Scorpions, especially in the Glowing Sea. Ugh.
Yeah, they were. Oh man, with the amount of ghouls and Rad Scorpions in the Glowing Sea was just brutal. And it was like so many of the, like, they're all, I mean, you got the ghouls who are feigning death, laying in radiation so you can't see them. And then you've got, Rad Scorpions popping on the ground. That was just... Yeah.
Have you fought the Death Skull Rad Scorpions yet?
You mean like one with a Death Skull next to it?
Well, it says Death Skull.
Or, no, I haven't. I haven't ran into that many Rad Scorpions.
I think those are the sub-maximum or maximum rank version of the Rad Scorpion.
Of the Red Scorpion?
They're poison, man. And like as soon as they pop out of the ground too, I think they have like the fastest attack speed also. So as soon as they pop out of the ground, they throw their stinger at you. It's just like you can't really do much about it, especially like in the Glowing Sea. You're gonna be wearing power armor or a hazmat suit.
Yeah, fingers crossed to whoever decides to do that. I thought that was a really great idea at one point. Then I'm like, what am I thinking? There's no way I'm going to Glowing Sea in a hazmat suit. I've got power armor.
Yeah, like what would you, like playing any Fallout game, like what would you expect to find in the Glowing Sea? Lots of ruins, lots of big enemies.
Yeah, right. There was a small moment where I actually did think to myself, like, oh, there's going to be nobody there. It's the Glowing Sea. It's desolate. And I'm like, oh, yeah. Glad I brought the power armor. Let's just put it
Anything that survives under extreme conditions is going to be there and want your whatever soul.
Just wants to kill you, it seems. That's the funny thing in Fallout, right? They never animate anything like eating you afterwards. Everything just wants to kill you for the sake of killing you. It's just like, you're in my area.
They animate the killing part.
Yeah, they do. That's true. It just wants to kill you. It's like, I just want you dead. We don't like you being here.
That's the nice thing about the blood bugs too. It's like they can't put their they can't suck your blood if you're wearing the power armor, which is nice.
Ugh. Imagine one of them getting like inside your power armor.
Oh no. That gives me chills. Don't do that.
You're dead. So while we're on the topic of difficult enemies, I guess we can move on. We want to talk a little bit more about survival mode now that you've kind of had a chance to play it. And I think we've got a good set of perspectives because you're like early game, again with it now, and I'm at the point where it's kind of starting to wear thin as a mode for me. Like I'm a little I'm disappointed. Like, I wanted them to do more with it. It's like, I don't know. Have you played on very hard at all?
I haven't.
It's basically very hard.
It's basically very hard with slower healing.
Slightly more, yeah. It's my brother's playing on very hard, and we've done a lot of comparisons with fighting like certain enemy types with like the same damage weapons. I like dragged him, was like, listen, dude, I need you to help me do these tests so I can actually see the difference here. And it's like, yeah, it's just not that great. Like, you have the slower healing, but I think when you go and tag something survival mode, like, you know, at first, obviously I was just really excited about Fallout 4, so it was easy to just say, oh, survival mode, cool, I'm glad they included it. But it's like, it was a missed opportunity to do, like we were saying, to do more.
To do a bit more, yeah.
To look at what Fallout New Vegas did and to say, how can we make this work, you know, here in our game? It's like, because all you really have going for it is the slower healing and the fact that on all difficulties, radiation poisoning takes away from your health bar.
Yeah.
It's like, but it just isn't enough. Like, now that I'm level 35, which isn't even that high, you know, and I'm like, things just, they die. You know,
it's still good. Like, level 30 plus, like the incline of the difficulty curve gets a little less. So
yeah, you know, it's like at this point, yeah, I guess like the entire length of the game that I've now been playing with survival mode on, there was nothing that really made me want to sit here and say like, holy crap, this is the mode. And when this is the mode that goes above your game mode called very hard, like, it should be the mode where I'm just like, I'm a masochist if I keep playing this. And it didn't do that, you know? So it's kind of like, why is it even there?
It's just like, well, I feel like the difficulties themselves, like, need to be, you know, readjusted, I guess.
It's a Bethesda problem, I think.
Because it's always been like very hard
Skyrim
mode.
has like
very hard
10
mode
difficulty
and above.
modes.
Yeah, very hard mode and above is like, you do half damage, enemies do double. Like, that's really it.
Yeah,
if you break it down. But then you have like, you know, survival mode, which is a very subpar hardcore mode, like New Vegas. Because in New Vegas you had, you know, the stim packs heal over time. You can no longer heal crippled limbs with stim packs. You would need doctor's bags actually to see a doctor. Ammo had weight, so you had to actually distribute your ammo properly too, which
would never work in Fallout 4 because the way they balance the weight of things in the game.
Right?
It just wouldn't happen with all the junk items that you now have to hold on to.
But they had the counterbalance in Fallout New Vegas where anything under, I think it was under like 2 units of weight or under 3 units of weight would now weigh half.
Yeah.
Which would easily go into the strong back perk. But there was several other things in New Vegas that was affected by hardcore mode too.
Well, you
companions
had, like,
can die.
Yeah, companions can die. They introduced water as a resource, which didn't really.
Oh yeah, the real time or the real needs for food, water, and sleep.
Yeah. See, that was like, yeah. I don't know.
Your character would still be awake for over 30 hours and still be fine.
Yeah, I was gonna say. See, that was something to me that was like the idea of the sleep thing, right? Like, that alone, I think, if they would have implemented that into the game, into the survival mode, like, that would have been a big game changer.
Mm-hmm.
Like, of course, it would be how they handle it, because it could just become an annoyance. Like, okay, I've got to go back and lay down and sleep and just pass time. So it's like I see the issues with that, but I feel like there's potential for that system to have.
Well, since this difficulty mode is still an option, like, that would be an option. That would be, you know, something that would go along with that option is the extra survivability type stuff. Yeah,
I mean, I think the idea, if they would have just added that in, it would have made me pay attention to the time on my Pip-Boy, you know?
Yeah.
Like, there would have been that element of, okay, I've been going now for 20 hours. My character is going to become exhausted. I'm going to, you know, be less accurate in combat. Like, I need to go back and break. And the amount of times that, like, the fact that we now have, you know, these settlements, the idea of player homes, like, I think that would have just blended so well.
Yeah.
You know, to say, okay, you know, I'm going to head back. It's end of the day. I'm going to take a break. Like, I already kind of do that when I play Fallout, you know? Like, I don't really like to leave something off, like, halfway in the middle of the quest. I like to finish it and then go back to my base. Like, I'm going to go back to my base. I'm going to rest up, save. That way, next time I come in, I've got rested XP and continue forward. So So it's like, yeah, it's just missed opportunity, man. Modders. Modders is what we'll have to wait for. Yeah.
Yeah.
It sucks.
Survival mode is okay. I liked, I was watching one of your Adventure Time episodes and noticed that you took out the crosshair. So I started playing without the crosshair too, and it actually feels a little more natural when it comes to like, or more immersive, I guess, when it comes to
it's a small thing, but it's like you realize it then that you're like, you have to get more used to like shooting with the end of your barrel.
Yeah.
And it comes into play when you're like in, a tunnel fighting like 16 ghouls trying to like hip fire and you have no reticle. It's like, it definitely,
or having to aim down the sights and just being like, oh crap.
Yeah, having to deal with the recoil of like, the terrible shotgun because it's like the only way you're going to get good accuracy. I thought it was disappointing when I looked at survival mode. That was one of the things I thought they would have automatically disabled, but that's just because of all like the military first person shooters I've played on PC over the years. Like when I boot up Arma and if I switch to hardcore or veteran, the first thing the game does is like no reticle, and I'm like, yeah, of course. Like, why would you give me reticle? It's totally cheating. So yeah, there was smaller gameplay. Like, Poison as a whole, I feel, they did a great job with radiation. I really do like what they do with radiation. Yeah. I think, again, survival mode would make a great opportunity to take Poison, to a different level, make it a really substantially damaging element in the game. Like if you get poisoned, you need to go take care of it. Otherwise, you're going to be in a really bad way.
Yep.
Because most of the creatures that poison you, it's like they instantly then in survival mode deal an insane amount of damage. Like you get hit by a blood bug, it poisons you, your health bar drains automatically, and that's like there's not really that sense of peril. It's just kind of like, oh, I died.
Yeah.
Don't get hit by the blood bug at all. There's no real like redemption.
No, not really. Or the bloat flies too.
The bloat flies, with their poison and stuff. It's like the only
There's so many things that poison you.
Yeah, the poison just becomes a damage over time effect, and I feel like like we were saying, there's opportunity to make it deeper than that.
Yeah. Well, New Vegas, you had anti-venom.
Yeah, like you can have so many effects with poison. Again, you can have it affect your accuracy. You can have it affect different combat situations.
Yeah, if enemies had the means to shoot poison, like poisonous darts, or even a poison effect that crippled you, kind of like the dart gun did in Fallout 3. Holy crap. If they flipped the tables like that, I would be excited and scared at the same time.
Yeah, that'd be so cool. I think, crippling in general, too, is something that in survival mode I thought was going to be like a constant thing. And I've been crippled like 4 times.
Yeah, I die faster than I can be crippled. So
yeah, it's like, there's a difficulty in balancing, by just giving the enemies insane amounts of damage.
Yeah.
It's like you're negating poison, radiation. You're kind of negating a lot of your game's mechanics.
Or like my character's head has been crippled like once because every time my character gets a headshot, they just die.
Yeah, you just get your head torn clean off.
That stupid legendary super mutant.
Yeah, I think that's really one. It's like we have Fallout New Vegas, we have what they've done with Fallout 4. Like I'm excited to see what modders do with their survival modes. Yeah. The kind of direction they take on it. I mean, so one thing that's like difficult to consider, right? You looked at New Vegas and they had the idea that you were in the desert. So, okay, obviously in the desert,
survival is important.
But what could modders do with Boston? You're still dealing with a time period that's after, a nuclear destruction.
Yeah.
It's like, in what ways could the world have been affected by that? I think that was a missed opportunity, for Bethesda as well to say, the environment has been changed because they kind of do it. We have the rad storms, which are wicked cool, but again, nearly pointless.
Yeah.
Like getting caught in a rad storm isn't what I thought it was going to be. Like I don't know. There's a game called Stalker. Some of you guys may have played it. Some of you may haven't. But getting caught in radiation storms in that game means death.
Yeah.
Like you have to be underground. And I was kind of hoping for something along that lines. But again, it's a cool effect.
It's an inconvenience and it's really cool to look at, but it's not really something that you need to like get into undercover during.
Yeah. It's like, I think
as long as you have one right away, like, good.
I was gonna say it like does barely any. You're walking in the water is more deadly than standing in a rad storm.
I did find out too that the refreshing beverages remove quite a bit less rads in survival mode. But they still restore health by I think 1,000 still.
Yeah, they're pretty wicked. They're refreshing.
Or 500 health. One of those.
I don't make nearly enough of those because those are lifesavers.
They heal a lot faster than stim packs too.
Yeah, stim packs are some of the foods like I've been hunting lots of like Deathclaw meat. The Mirelurk meat even, and Yaoguai meat seems to heal much more quickly than stim packs, especially if you just stack it like crazy and hide in a corner for a couple seconds.
But we haven't seen yet what Bethesda is going to do with DLC. Like in Skyrim, for example, like they introduced new mechanics or modified other ones.
Yeah, I mean, I would hope that they look, because it's like I haven't seen any confirmation on how long they plan on talking about DLC. I know Camel mentioned he saw some stuff like them talking about like a year plus.
Yeah.
And it's like at that point, I'd like to see them again. I think this is a big thing in the way that games are now, and the fact that so much stuff is like digital. Games are getting released, with a lot of unfinished concepts that could have been there. Like, I'd like to see Fallout very much get treated like a lot of these long-running multiplayer games where the game's just getting updates. Like, hey, we're going to change this system. We're going to implement a new system into the game for this. And, like, in a single-player game, that, it provides a huge level of replayability.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I might come back and replay the entire game because they introduce 5 new mechanics or change, 5 mechanics that now the game is completely different.
We know, too, that they do pay attention to things, too.
Yeah, people are definitely talking about these things. All the stuff that we're complaining about now, we know we're not the only ones.
Yeah.
People on the forums being even louder and more obnoxious than we are about it.
More angry, unnecessarily so.
Yeah, it's...
We still love Fallout.
Yeah, right? I mean, the game has provided me with a massive amount of enjoyment.
Yeah.
I mean, when was the last time you can say, that you dropped $60 on a game and got 4 days worth of playtime out of a single player game?
Mass Effect. Like that's what comes to mind before. Well,
it falls into a very special category.
Metal Gear Solid 5, which
which is why it's like,
but
I will respectfully critique everything
Yeah.
I feel is wrong with it, because it has provided a lot of enjoyment. It's just I would like to see them take advantage of the way games are handled now. Like make the changes, modify survival mode, do whatever, and if the modders are gonna get angry about that, then they're being silly.
Yeah.
You can still make mods and you're just gonna have to get over that. That was a big issue with Arma. The Arma 3 community was, modders were like, well, we made all these systems now, but now Bohemia is just implementing them. It's like, yeah, but the players want in-house implementations. Like, mods are great. There's no denying that. But there are certain things that you can't match as a modder without the resources that the AAA, publisher has.
Right.
I mean, modifying their game and using the same tools in the engine to make more stuff, that's fine. But when you're talking about like creating original content or modifying, certain systems, it's like sometimes it's just, it's going to be better done in-house by the team that originally created it.
And if they do like take on the modifications that you did yourself, like I suppose you should take that as a compliment.
Yeah, damn well. I mean, they saw what you did and they were like, hey, they did a great job with this. It's like, how can we, we have to top this if we're going to make our own version
look
of
how
it.
Fallout 4, the real-time settler mod, like they had, settlements implemented. And then they had, weapon customization, where there was several weapon customization mods out there. And they just, put it all into one thing and made all of the junk items useful.
Yeah.
As a result. And what were the other ones? The ability to ride in a vertibird, not necessarily pilot one yet, but the ability to ride around in a vertibird if you decided to go that route.
Yeah, I think the relationship between modders and developers, like if looked at right, is like the relationship that I wish more developers had with the developers. Like, we talk about the idea of developers sharing ideas, and like I feel like that doesn't happen enough in the industry.
Yeah.
Like, one developer isn't looking and seeing what like you kind of wish that Bethesda would have looked a little bit more at how Mass Effect handled their conversation, choices. I looked a little bit more at how Obsidian handled their conversation choices. rather than just going and spearheading it themselves. Look at what other people have done. There's nothing wrong with that. Some of the greatest inventions in mankind were created by looking to the past and seeing what people had failed at or what they'd succeeded at, So it's like that relationship, I think, definitely exists between modders and developers. Developers are looking at what the modders are making and they're getting ideas, and vice versa. And like, it's just completely mutual,
Yeah.
It should be, and it can be.
It's very cool. It's very cool. And also like the mod authors or mod creators that have been extremely successful, like the Falscar, like overhaul, new area to explore for Skyrim that somebody made. Like they got recognition by Bethesda at the very least.
That dude got hired.
I
not by Bethesda.
Yeah, by someone
I'm pretty sure
else,
he got hired by Bungie, actually.
Yeah.
I
for
think
world
that's
building stuff, and I'm just like, well, that's one way to make a resume.
that's like end goal for modders, I feel, right? Like, so many of them don't want to take money for their work. They're just like, as long as I end up working for someone someday. Like, I mean, and that's a crazy rule. And you think about it, the funny thing is, when we talk about mods in general, who was trying to make sure that modders got paid for their work? Bethesda.
Yep.
Sadly, that didn't go. I have to admit that I was completely for that. I think everybody deserves to get paid for their work. And some of the stuff that people have made and are going to make for Bethesda games, man, I can't imagine the amount of hours.
Yeah.
The idea of like doing something for that long. I mean, I do know what that feels like, but it's like at the end of the day, you want, in your head, you're hoping you reach a point where someone will pay you for that. Like, that's the thing with doing YouTube, Like, yes, you're doing it for like no money. Yes, dudes who are doing mods for no money. But I think we all hope at the end of the day that someday someone's like, that's really great. Let me pay you for that.
Since we like
let
it,
me feed,
we hope we
let
can.
me feed your family for it,
Since we like it, we hope we can make a living doing it. Like, that's. I think that's something everybody aspires to have. Or do, or both.
So who knows what Bethesda's going to do with the whole, there's lots of talk of them, refocusing on the idea of paid mods again, moving into the future. And it's like, I think, if someone wants to charge for their mod that is really good, then I see nothing wrong with that, Like the Frostfall mod in Skyrim, I would gladly have paid like $10 for that. Like, how much that changed Skyrim for me? Like, in a heartbeat, man. $10.
Awesome.
$5 to whatever, man,
that too, letting people charge for mods made with their tools too.
Yeah, I mean,
like,
that's just
that is a favor.
Right? That's totally PC, that's PC gaming. That's what like Unreal's been doing, Unity's doing now. These are like I guess Unreal's probably the best example with Epic, like, here's our in-house engine, and for how long they've been giving it to people and saying do stuff with it. Make money off of it. Like the Unreal Engine workshop now is like one of the biggest places for, resources created by, freelance developers that are now being used in indie games all over the freaking world.
Awesome stuff.
Crazy. I think we're going to save the last discussion piece that I have here for the next episode, because that's actually a really good one. And I feel like,
we would talk about Quest for a while too, huh?
Yeah, it would probably be
there's a teaser.
Yeah, so look forward to Quest discussion next week. Actually, we both have a lot to say about that. I think I did too good of a job putting this together, and your topic was also equally meaty.
Yeah. I told you, man, easily an hour.
So, be sure to share all of your thoughts, guys, with everything we talked about, whether it be mods, survival mode, companions, voice characters, the railroad, for those of you who are here for the spoilerness. Be sure to share it with us down there. Really, I guess we could talk briefly about what's the buzz. I really would like to ask some of you guys out there, now that, I imagine some of you have probably started to slowly realize there are other games in the world once again. And I think for me, Fallout 4 has actually triggered a lot of memories of past games. Mass Effect is one we've talked about, as well as BioShock. So for me this weekend, I'm going to be trying to spend some time going back and I know I'm not going to finish, but I want to play a little bit of Mass Effect 2, play a little bit of BioShock, as well as BioShock Infinite. Like, that's what I plan on doing, just, jog my memory as to some other great games. So I think that's what I'm going to do. So let us know what you guys plan on playing this weekend. Kato, anything, other than Fallout that's kind of been dragging your attention again? Any Carmageddon?
An open question I wanted to ask everyone was, since we had, well, today's Cyber Monday, the day we're recording, is Cyber Monday, and
It is.
shortly after Black Friday, did you get any, new stuff added to your collection, like on Steam or on your consoles from that games that you remember being fun, or games that you haven't played at all that were recommended to you, or that you just wanted to try out? For me, I got Age of Mythology for myself and Kite, and what was it? Civilization 4, because I remember that being fun. And then I also got it for her husband. And at some point, like he's the major strategy player guy. So at some point, I'm going to see if we can do a campaign. We're going to have to set aside an entire day, though. That's how Civilization goes.
Dude. Civilization campaigns are ridiculous. Ugh.
But
I think I played one for like 2 weeks for Civ 5 one time. Oh my god.
yeah.
Too much.
Like, I've always been a fan of Age of Empires, though. Like, that's where my RTS like roots are. So like, Kite was telling me to get Age of Mythology because that's the one she relates to the most. So I was just like, all right, and it was like $5 on Steam. So
all right, I think there's like Steam sales going
pretty sure,
through the
yeah.
week still.
They're pretty generous around this time of year.
Speaking of Mass Effect 1 and 2 are both $4.99. I know Origin also has the triple pack sale for Mass Effect, so if you're interested in grabbing that, you haven't played Mass Effect, that's a good time to pick it up.
Are they
all $12 for the triple pack?
Are they offering a deal on DLC?
They are. All the DLC's on sale
dang
too.
It. All right.
Yeah, like Origin's got a huge sale. I think that just started. That's going to be going through the week. I believe.
Origin,
so
why do you
lots
do
of
this?
Stuff. Actually, it might just be for today. In which case, I'm sorry I even mentioned it to any of you guys.
I'm still irritated at EA for not putting Mass Effect 3 on Steam, but it's
how we were talking the other week about how we would love for Mass Effect remaster, and it was like one of the developers from Bungie who does like all the big sandbox design said the exact same thing. He's like, all I actually wanted this holiday was a remaster of the Mass Effect trilogy, and I'm like, yes, you too,
do it, Game of the Year.
Like, damn it, man, do it, BioWare, come on, we need something,
Yeah.
Get the Epic and Gears of War, they were smart. They were like, let's remaster Gears of War 1, like just even if they just picked one game and did it, I'd be okay with that. If it was the first game, like I'd be fine, something to hold us over till Andromeda. Because the wait is too long. I'm dreaming about that game, and I don't even know what it's about yet.
Well, we have XCOM 2 is out also.
Yeah, XCOM 2 will be out. It's like, I feel like that game's going to be a disappointment. I don't know why. I think because a part of me is just like, when I see gameplay of it, I'm like, it feels, I don't know. Like, I don't want to say they played it too safe. It's like, but I don't know if I need more XCOM. I'm sure there's somebody out there who's like, I absolutely need more XCOM, and that game will be for you. But I really loved the first XCOM because when I saw it for the first time, it felt really special. And when I see XCOM 2, it's like, it hasn't done it for me yet, but I also know we haven't seen that much of the game yet, so I'll probably pick it up anyways and play it, and hopefully it's fantastic.
Yeah. But Deus Ex, I'm still excited for the new Deus Ex game, but they pushed it back, didn't they?
Yeah, big delay. There's been a lot of games that have been delayed, and hopefully for the better. I think that's just good because like my interest isn't in another big lengthy RPG right now. So it's like, it's good that it's sometime next year when I'll have more free time. But all right, guys. Well, we're rolling into December now. The holidays are going to be here, so I hope you guys are having a great time with your family, playing lots of games, enjoying all these wonderful sales. 2016 is almost upon us. A lot of good stuff to look forward to. Thank you guys for once again joining us for another episode of the PIPCAST. We will see you in the next one.